Whatever they do, Physical matter. The first one will be the Board of Tax Assessors with a plan of action. But before y'all speak, I just wanted to let the public and the crowd know the Board of Commission and the Tax Assessors wanted to have a meeting to hear both boards' expectation of the Performance Review Board to discuss concerns and solution to the review from the Department of Revenue. I got the sign-up sheet, and the people on the sign-up sheet will be able to speak. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to the Tax Assessor Office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think everybody up here knows me. For those of you that don't, my name is Tom Torrance. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Board of Assessors. I first came on the board in 2018 to fill an unfulfilled term of my uncle, Richard Torrance, who passed away. I was appointed to fill his term out, and since then have been reappointed to my own term. And we thank you and the commissioners for the opportunity to respond to this, to what's in this performance review. I got to figure out which one of these things I want to point at. This is the agenda that we'll follow. I will cover some items, what the board is, what our responsibilities are, what we have done for the county over the past 8 years, the timeline and constraints that we work within, and a quick comparison with some of the counties that are around us. Then you'll also hear from other board members, Mr. Stevenson, Mr. Kine, and Ms. Thompson, and then we'll have turn it over for questions, however we want to handle that. This is the Board of Assessors. We're all here. Ms. Sheila Beckford here, Patricia Ball Thompson, Mr. Ronald Stevenson, and Mr. Harry Kine. We are volunteers. We are sent to wherever in the state the Department of Revenue is conducting training. We're required to take a 40-hour course before or within the first 6 months of coming on the board, and then we're required a certain number of continuing education hours every year that we do through seminars, classes that are conducted by the Department of Revenue. We are average citizens out there trying to look out for your best interests. We are your friends and your neighbors. Okay, so what is the Board of Assessors? It was, I think I'm more comfortable pointing over here if my pointer will work, which it doesn't very well. But by Georgia code, Board of Assessors are established by Georgia code, mandated to maintain uniform fair market assessments, which in the state of Georgia, a fair market assessment is 40%. Okay, and you should receive tax notices no later than July 1st. You'll later in my briefing that we actually get that out to you by mid-May. Okay, what's important is the second paragraph there. It is an independent board. We are appointed by the county commissioners, but we operate by law independently of the commissioners so that there's not undue political influence to increase property values and then revenue. Okay, we serve fixed terms. We can be fired for failure to do our job. But that's a messy process that ends up in Superior Court. This is our mission. Okay? I won't read all of that, but it's to, in simple terms, assess all real and personal property fairly, uniformly, and in accordance with Georgia law. Okay? And to ensure that the annual tax digest conforms to state law. That's what our mission is. These are the number of accounts that we handle in Baldwin County. Real property, personal property, mobile homes, public utilities, a total of 26,000 accounts. Okay, this is our appraisal staff, led by Mr. Wade Williams here. There are other members of the staff. I just asked them to stand up so that people can see who they are. Okay, and I've color-coded this so that you can see. So those in black, positions 1 through 5, have been on board since 2021 or earlier. Those in blue and red are recent additions to the staff. Positions 9 and 10, going on 3 weeks maybe, and going on 2 weeks. And the others less than 2 years on board. So it is relatively young and inexperienced staff. And when you do some extrapolation there, you can see that we've been operating at reduced staff for quite some time. Okay, some statistics that you should find of interest. The graph at the bottom, the blue bars, or those in blue, are 100% of fair market value minus any exempt properties. An exempt property would be nonprofits, churches, cemeteries, and other 501(c) organizations that are exempt from property taxes. And the gold or rust-colored bar is the assessed value at 40%. So that's the value that's taxed at. And so you'll see on a couple of subsequent charts here that has increased from 2018 to 2025. And another, just looking at it a little different, the millage rate is what determines how much taxes are paid. And so for the county, the growth in revenue in collectible from 2018 to 2025 is an increase of $5.2 million for the county. And when you look at the Board of Education, it's an increase of $2.7 million. So those two figures, I don't do math in my head very well, but roughly, $8 million increased collections for the county over the last 8 years. And I would like to add that these tax digests, are approved by the Department of Revenue. Every one of them has been approved by the Department of Revenue. If you have read the performance review in detail, you will read that in 2022 it was approved conditionally. That condition was subsequently removed. So they have all been approved. Went too fast. Okay, when I'm talking with concerned citizens, I often hear why has my property values gone up? Why has my assessment gone up? And it ties back to a sales ratio. So every year, the Department of Revenue does a sales ratio analysis of properties that sold. What were they assessed at? What did they sell for? And they put that into a formula that I could not begin to explain to you, but it comes out with a number. And the perfect number, if you see bolded in black there at the bottom, the perfect number would be 40. 40% with a tolerance level of 0.4. So within tolerance, you're 0.36 to 0.44. We have been out of compliance in 2020. We were 0.26 out of compliance. That tells the Department of Revenue that our assessed values are too low. So we have to do a reassessment to get those back into compliance. That's important because if we're out of compliance for 2 consecutive years, then that could result in a penalty to the county of, I think it's $5 per parcel. And if you look back at the chart to the total accounts of 26,000 accounts at $5 each, that's a pricey little fine. So those of you that say, particularly in 2021, why did my assessment go up? That would be why. And we were in compliance for 2 straight years, and then in 2023, we were out of compliance again. And so a reassessment went up. We did not assess values, we did not raise values high enough, because while we're still in compliance, it's 37.2. This would indicate that property values in Baldwin County are low, on the low end. And the instructions that the board gives when these happen, when we see that we're out of compliance, our instructions to the chief appraiser is increase the values to get us within compliance on the low end, because that is to the taxpayer benefit. That's what we're looking at. How do we comply with state regulations, but still take care of the taxpayer the best that we can? So the 2025 is not up there because that's not done yet. We will get those results in August. Okay. Some initial coordination with the person in the audit department that does that. He has started looking at that, and I hesitate to say he thinks that we will just barely be in compliance again. Okay, so we'll just have to see what just happened. Okay, but this is a report card from the Department of Revenue every year. This is the work cycle that we have. What's going on right now is field reviews, assessments there, work in public utilities. The key part on the middle there, April and May, you should, between the 1st and 15th of May, receive your notice of assessment. That is well before the state mandated July the 1st time frame. At that point, property owners have the right to appeal. If your value is too low, you come appeal. I doubt you're going to do that. But if you think your value is too high, then it is your right, and we encourage you to come in and appeal that. And you have 45 days from the day the assessments were mailed to submit an appeal. And that's just important. So between then and July, we work the appeals and try to, if we can't solve them internal to the office, between the taxpayer and the chief appraiser, then it goes to, is scheduled to go to a board of equalization. And the board of equalization then makes that determination. But the key thing, and you'll see little in gold there, by July the 15th. That is when Georgia law says that the tax digest is to be submitted to the tax commissioner. We have trouble meeting that. We have not met that in several years. And Georgia law, kind of backwards, says these are the exceptions to July the 15th. If there's more than 5% of your total parcels in an appeal cycle, or if it's 8% in a year that it was reassessed, the Department of Revenue will not accept the digest. So it can't be submitted. Or if it were submitted, it would immediately get sent back with a redo. Okay? I would bet a pretty significant sum of money that we're going to be overwhelmed with appeals this year. That's my guess. But nothing would make us happier than to have it to the tax commissioner by July the 15th, because that allows us to move to the next part of the cycle. The most important thing is that this gets submitted to the tax commissioner so that the tax commissioner's office can do the billing, so that you receive your bills and can pay your bills all within the same calendar year, so that the county does not have to borrow money. And despite us not making the July 15th, for these reasons that are allowed by Georgia law, we have still been able to get things to the tax commissioner so that the tax commissioner's office can bill and collect in the same year. So we readily admit we've missed that, but there are mitigating circumstances there. And there's some others listed there. There are a number of reasons that the state recognizes to miss July the 15th. Okay, and just, as sort of a point of reference, this past year we got that submitted to the tax commissioner on August the 1st, 2 weeks late. And this is how we compare to counties immediately around us. So I would just say that we're kind of in line with the other counties in Middle Georgia that are of similar size. And I'll be followed by Mr. Stevenson.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Butts and the Board of Commissioners for allowing us to respond to the 2025 performance review for Baldwin County. I'm Ronald L. Stevenson, 135 Shannon Drive, District 2. I might have to turn around. You all excuse me for that, doing what we are doing to explain thoroughly what you need to know. The development of up-to-date policies and procedures will be implemented by a contracted retired Department of Revenue employee. This person also will help in the education scheduling of employees of the tax assessor's office, which have to have 40 hours of training every 2 years. I might be jumping back and forth, but we're going to stay with the same page. Just bear with me. The staff is trained by the Department of Revenue, and schedules for classes come out twice a year. We will need the support of the county in covering expenses of this ongoing education and contract. This will include the continuing education on manager skill, training for the chief appraiser and deputy appraiser. Number 2, the CAMA system. That means the computer assisted mass appraisal. That's the system that we are using, which is Tyler. The system that our staff needs more training on to be more effective. We will need the support again of the county to provide funding for the training. The quality control administrator will be utilized as much as possible to help in completing the tasks throughout the year according to the outlined calendar. Thirdly, one of the things that Mr. Torrance touched on to show you that this is not a perfect world, that when the digest is submitted, the different dates for the surrounding counties here is the July the 15th date will be met within the circumstances that are in our control. The two above points will help in reaching that goal. Training will also ensure that the appeal process is tracked and implemented in an efficient timeline. Being able to use the camera system for ratio studies will give the ability to better forecast the market for compliance purposes. All other recommendations are addressed in the response report. The more our staff is trained, the better they will be able to implement all the recommendations that the performance review has pointed out. We, the Board of Assessors, take the performance review very seriously and are committed to implement all recommendations from the Department of Revenue. Some of the high points, one of them mainly that Mr. Torrance touched on, that I'm going to touch on, is the final consolidation for the tax digest, July the 15th. And if you read the performance review, you can look to page 69, where there's a certain percentage of appeals. And if you have over that percentage of appeals, the dates can change. That don't mean that we are out of compliance. This is not a perfect world. Some counties around us, August 1st, some August 15th, some August 20th. The dates vary. So there's nothing that's unusual because we're not in a perfect world here. The sales go up, move around, so that's what we have to deal with. The Tyler camera system, you can look on page 5 of that same review, and you can see that there is no evidence by the Performance Review Board that the Tyler system was discussed or consulted with the Baldwin County Board of Tax Assessors. We are dealing with what was passed on to us. It's not a perfect world. We're doing the best that we can. Page 33, that's example of the overrides. If you have read this report, or if you can pick one up today, you can go through all the recommendations that we have been given, and we are working on them as we speak. The first day that, back in the middle of January, when we received the performance review, certain things we was already doing right, certain things that we can do better. But that review kind of reflects this whole government center. Tax Commissioner's Office, Tax Assessor's Office, HR, it reflects all of us. So it's just not just for one segment. You can say it is, but in a real world, it affects all of us because we have a lack of communication that we need to work on. So no one is pointing fingers. That's just something that the review board said that we can do better to make us better. And his several things in the report, well, really, all of them that was recommendations, we are working on them as we speak. And some of them as follows. Authorized by the Board of Assessors Chairman to approve Chief Assessor's timesheets. You can look at that, page 6. Page 15, properly fill vacancies by the Baldwin County Board of Tax Assessors, by the Baldwin County Board of Commissioners. That's being worked on, that's page 15. Page 16, post meetings at least 24 hours prior to each meeting. That's been going on, but we want to make sure that it keep going on. That was just a recommendation. That it didn't say anything was wrong or we were violating any policy. Just want to make sure we keep doing what we are doing in that area. Each new chairman grant authority to delegate signature to the chief appraiser. We can't be here every time. Here's a format we go through. And if you look on page 19 of the performance review, it will let you know that. You can go on down to page 20, page 23, page 26. The list goes on. And we have been working on this review day one. The tax assessor's office been working diligent with us, and we want to make sure that everything here in Baldwin County work the best that it can be worked out. And I'm quite sure if we get that line of communication more cohesiveness, we'll be able to do that. So the list goes on, page 59, page 68, page 69, page 71. If you have a copy of that performance review, you can see all the recommendations is being addressed. And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank you for appointing me again in District 2 and the Board of Commissioners. I appreciate your majority vote for me to serve on this board for another term. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Butts and Commissioners. My name is Harry Keim. I live at 1725 Columbine Road, right in back of here in Carrington Woods. I've lived here 37 years, the longest I've ever lived anyplace, so that's not too bad. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about is, okay, we got this program review. It's been tough in some places and okay on others. I want to look at the future because that's where we need to be or we need to go. We need to start allowing the Board of Assessors to operate the Office of Tax Assessors within the approved budget. If changes are necessary, they must be approved by you, the commissioners. In the past, that hasn't necessarily been the case. So what does this accomplish? It allows the Board of Assessors to execute an action plan to achieve the recommendations in the performance review for current and future years. Personnel hiring. The future personnel replacement process is of critical importance to accomplish completion of each year's tax digest, as well as creating a positive, supportive environment for all our employees. We will request that the chief appraiser submit any new hiring request in a timely manner, along with a requested date for fulfillment. Second major component, two major components are training and compensation for our staff. Improve the utilization of the Tyler computer system. One of the things that is needed is a new computer server. The one we have is not going to handle what is needed in this new system. And we're fast approaching the cutoff point on that. Also, there's such a thing as called a computer notebook that each appraiser needs to have, because when they go out to appraise a property, rather than having to write it down on a piece of paper and then come back in and put it in the computer, all you have to do is use this notebook. Boom, right when they're doing it, they can put it in, they come back, and they put it in the computer. Easy, about as easy as you can be. So this we need to provide hands-on, real-time training to improve the operational efficiency and system knowledge, as opposed to what is being used now is a mock-up system. It doesn't have anything to do with the real computer system. Currently, they use the mock-up system to train on. Then when it's time to get real, they go on to the real system, and guess what? It doesn't look the same. It causes a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration on the part of the people that are supposedly thought they had been trained right. So we need to get some hands-on assurance that we're going to get the same thing with the mock-up as the real system. This can be accomplished by a database administrator helping us and quality control manager. Again, in the future, Baldwin County does not have a database administrator who would have a degree in computer technology and could work directly with the improvement of utilization of the Tyler system. We will request that the chief appraiser or the database administrator, if when hired, help implement and track training provided by Tyler. We will request of Tyler a user group, which we have had with the former system, WinGap. Now, what is a user group? It's a group of users that use a system and have to use it all the time, and they get together on usually a quarterly basis, and they discuss what are the problems with the existing system, and they input to Tyler the priorities that they feel is necessary to correct problems. And it is extremely helpful. Currently, they only have a help desk, which is hit and miss at best. What do I mean by that? Well, you call up the help desk, and you give them, you tell them what your problem is or what's happening. Well, usually you have, I don't know, but I'll have to find out. And sometimes it's a long period of time before they ever get back to you, if they do. And a lot of times what happens is they have to bug the user people to try to get an answer so they can continue on with their job. Okay. Communication must be strengthened to ensure that Baldwin County works more effectively. We are recommending an agenda item on each of the Board of Commissioners meeting for the chairperson or the vice chair to inform the Board of Commissioners of items that need their attention or approval. At these meetings, we will inform the commissioners of potential problems that could impact county revenue. After the close of each year's Georgia legislative session, we would like to meet with the commissioners and give them any and all legislative changes that could affect the county operations and revenue. I don't think that's happening and hasn't been before. Request for ongoing support. We will suggest the initiation of quarterly meetings with all the departments within Baldwin County: Human Resources, Finance, Tax Commissioner, County Manager, and the Chief Tax Assessor. This will help initiate understanding and cooperation. Each of these entities provide necessary input in the final completion of the tax digest and the monies to be collected. I think it's one of the most important things we could do. Again, in the future, that homestead exemption properties are reviewed annually, and that's on page 66 of the program review, that we will utilize a contract service with a specialty in this area. We don't have the ability on staff now, and I'm not sure we could even afford it, to have something like that in our possession. So a contract would be the best way to go. We would also be updating the policy and procedure manual with an experienced and reputable firm we've already identified. So, looking into the future, we, the Baldwin County Assessors Board, strongly feel that communicating with each of you each of the departments within Baldwin County is critical in each year's tax digest completion by Baldwin County and acceptance by the Department of Revenue. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna stand over here so I'm not, don't have my I'm Patricia Thompson. I represent District 3, which is Commissioner Hall's district. And I am going to summarize what we have already previously discussed. The tax assessor's office has demonstrated consistent growth in revenues over the past 8 years. Tax assessments in Baldwin County are completed using a formula set by Kama Tyler, which is our computer-generated system that has been approved by the Georgia Department of Revenue. The millage rate for Baldwin County is determined by the Board of Commissioners and the school board. Creating the tax digest is a complex process with multiple deadlines, many of which are outside the control of the assessors, including the appeal process. The tax digest should not be submitted until the number of unresolved appeals, which is 5% or less, or 8% in the reassessment year. The Performance Review Board did not cite any legal issues and no fines were assessed. Residents have been receiving their assessment and appeal notifications. The tax digest has reached record levels for the past 8 years because of fair market increases. In conclusion, the Baldwin County Board of Tax Assessors is committed to correcting issues identified by the performance review and ensuring the property in Baldwin County is assessed fairly, uniformly, according to the Georgia statute. Questions, please?
Sir, that concludes what we have prepared. In your packet, if you didn't receive it, then I would assume that the staff will prepare for you, but the rest of the slide, there are roughly 29 to 31, however you count, recommendations that are included in that packet. And for the sake of time, we don't want to go through those 30 additional slides. Y'all can read those at your leisure. And but we, as pointed out, accept those recommendations that are in there and have prepared a response. Matter of fact, as Mr. Stevenson said, some of them are already completed and work is underway. So thank you, sir.
Well, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, will be the expectation of the Board of Commissioners for the Tax Assessor Office. Allow whoever ready to speak on this matter is up for discussion.
I do have some questions. Some of them might be kind of haphazard here, but first I want to go back to Mr. Kime. All this equipment, training stuff that you suggested, was that requested in the budget this year?
Some of it has been.
Was it not approved in the budget?
That's an interesting question.
I think
It was approved, we had it in the budget, but we were told they couldn't let the contract go.
Well, we've asked most everybody to be very conservative in when they spend their money. That doesn't mean it can't be provided, but anyway, I wanted to make sure it was budgeted. Now, I want to go back, I want to ask about the appeals. I know we have a deadline for appeals, I don't know what that date is, but do we start hearing appeals before the deadline, or do we wait until the deadline passes?
It's 45 days for anyone to appeal.
I got that.
Mr. Herrick, now address that leader. Wade Williams, Chief Appraiser of Baldwin County. Commissioner Hall, there is not a set date for appeals. The process is that you send out the notice of assessments. Our target date is by May in order to hit the July 15th date that the discussion has been about. Once the notice of assessments have been sent out, Georgia law says before July 1st. When they have been sent out, you have 45 days to appeal. Once you appeal, which most people do at the end of the 45 days, we work the appeals during the 45-day process and after the 45-day process. During a regular year, you have 180 days to submit those appeals to the BOE. On 2 of the past 4 years, 22 and 24, we have exceeded the amount allowed by law and was not able to close the digest until we got under that percentage. Sometimes it is out of our control because we submit a BOE list. The clerk of court does a very good job of scheduling, and some of those BOEs can last as long as the next year. So we have stayed in the compliance number of days. When you are in a reassessment year, you have an extended 180 days, so it can go up to a year or more.
So if I appeal on the first day, during that 45-day period, you would begin hearing my appeal. I wouldn't have to wait until the 45 days had passed.
No, sir, that's not correct. We would accumulate the appeals, and depending on the number and the availability to be able to work it, we might ask you to come back in with an appointment. If we could not get a satisfactory value of agreement, then you would automatically be put on the BOE agenda. And then at that time, it is when the clerk of court has that scheduling, and you would be contacted by them, and it could be anywhere from after the 45 days and up to 180 days, or on a reassessment or reevaluation year, 45 to 180 to another extended 180 days.
Sounds pretty complicated. It seems to me that it would be in your best interest so that we can meet our deadlines to start as soon as possible, rather than waiting, because, you know, you got more to do, but if you start early, you get through quicker. I mean,
Mr.
that's
Simmons,
common
I don't think
sense.
You understood my.
I heard what you said, but I mean, I don't know who makes the rules, but common sense says the quicker you get started, the quicker you get through, the quicker you meet your deadline.
So that's what I said, sir, that we start working them as soon as possible, but we cannot put all of them to rest. And it takes, as you file an appeal, you will ask to go to arbitration, or you ask to seek a hearing officer, or go to the BOE. So we may work your appeal even the day that you come in. But if we cannot find a reasonable value of agreement, then it takes 45, 180 to another 180 days before it may be settled, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stevens, I believe you said that you were working on the overrides. I believe that's what you said, that y'all were working on the overrides. I just wonder, you know, we had 119 overrides for dwellings and 199 overrides for accessory improvement. Why do we have so many? Why are there so many overrides?
If you will, Carlos, no, it's not on the slide. For those of you that had the performance review, it's on page 33. And on page 33, you will see that there is a line item that's called dwellings. dwellings in the CAMA system of Tyler is referred to as houses. So on the accounts that we have in Tyler, if you would read the account number, Mr. Hall,
You talking about the total account or the, which,
the amount of dwellings.
17,439?
17,000 plus. The next line,
But you had 20,828 overrides.
thank you, you beat me to it, sir. How can you have more houses in override than you have existing in the county?
I don't know.
This is one of the errors that the Department of Revenue, which is a credible source, sir, as you have stated, also makes errors. So the 119, excuse me, I'm not finished, sir. The 119% is an error found by the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
In the internal reports, Ball, we have less than 3,000, sir?
Yes, sir. 26, we have 1,816.
Thank you, sir. Now, Commissioner Strickland, yes, sir, excuse me.
Thank you.
Well, the chairman runs the meeting, not you.
I
So,
understand that, sir.
yeah.
I didn't try to run it. I'm
So-
sorry you misinterpreted that.
okay. Well, I just wanted to ask if you reached out to the Department of Revenue to get some clarity on this. And
Yes,
if
sir,
you-
I did.
So do you have a statement from them that explains this?
They won't give a statement. I have a verbal resolution. Just as the appeal process is for you as a Baldwin County property owner, we also have an appeal process to address any errors that we find, and it goes directly to Department of Revenue and then to the commissioner.
Okay, so I'll ask again. Do you have a statement from the Department of Revenue that sheds clarity on this number?
No, sir, I do not have a statement. I have a verbal conversation, which I know my word may not be good, but I can get a written statement.
Well, this has been this number has been talked about a lot,
Yes, sir, it has.
and they weren't willing to provide you with some explanation as to their findings?
Not to this point, no, sir. They simply told me if we found any errors to appeal to them, and then they will put it through the process of whoever has to go back through this report and acknowledge the error, correct the error, or satisfy or inquire to the numbers.
If I could add to this,
You probably should, Tom.
we have, as a board, elected not to appeal anything in this report. Okay, we acknowledge the findings in that report and are working to correct those deficiencies. And that's where we want our focus and our energy to go, and not on nitpicking and pulling things apart in there.
Understood.
I had one more thing. You mentioned about the mock-up computer stuff not the same as what they were trained on. Has that been brought to anybody's attention?
Yes, it has. They're a big organization and they just say, well, we might work on it, but right now we got other things to do.
Has it been brought to anybody's attention locally, like the county commission or the county manager or anybody like that? I mean, if we're paying for something, we'd like to get our money's worth.
Would be a good idea. I agree with you.
Mr. Perry,
Yeah.
you have an unbiased party here that was hired to assist us and did a very good job during the time that he was in that position. And that is Mr. Jalen. Mr. Jalen could speak from an unbiased perspective to answer the question. To give an example, after we started in Tyler, we had an open directive to a case manager for Tyler. They would put us in contact with somebody that would resolve our problems with us. I was on the phone one afternoon, and the lady and I, which was very polite, very thorough, she was very frustrated with me. Imagine that, people. But she said, Mr. Williams, if you would just listen to us. I said, ma'am, will you do me a favor? Will you tell me what your homepage looks like? She did. I gave her a screenshot, and she took over my computer, and she said, you're not even on the same version we are. How can we help you? That is the point that Mr. Harry is talking about. Not only in the test series and the production series, they have to be on the same version in order us to train and understand how to put things in production.
Again, if we're paying for it, we need to know that, so that ought to be a way to fix it. I mean, that's why I'm asking, has anybody been informed here, not on the other end, but here?
Yes, sir, they were. I have no authority over it. Again, an unbiased party, Mr. Jalen was in the middle of it, he could answer.
Speaking of Jalen too, he was, quote, assigned or asked to go to work in your office and help y'all, and you just said he did, but didn't you tell him you didn't need him anymore?
No, sir, not to my knowledge. Jalen, did I ever tell you?
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, that's a question for another day.
Yeah. Not a question, not even.
Any other commissioner have any questions?
I do, Chairman. I had a question during sort of the override conversation. Is it possible that there could be multiple overrides, like per parcel being, is it a homestead? Is there an override on a homestead, an override on value? Is there a way, that there are multiple ways? There could be multiple overrides for one parcel?
The way the Department of Revenue has it laid out in that chart, sir, the dwelling word is dedicated to all dwellings. So there would be no combination because it's dedicated directly to the house. One of the problems is when we handed our information that comes out of Tyler CAMA system, the Department of Revenue had to hand it over to the coordinator that wrote the old system to convert it back into a WinGap format for them to assimilate or look at. I will say the possibility in that conversion, because we experienced it, would be that one system does not speak to the other system directly, and that there would be and can be numbers that could be skewed throughout any of the findings from one conversion system to another, or converting from one system to another. The same way that when we converted to Tyler, we have spent years still trying to look at the data and bring it up to the correct status on every parcel. Tyler is a good system, but as that performance review points out by the Department of Revenue, it is a very sophisticated system that people that have to or need to have IT understanding of the programming to help us move forward in the efficiency. I will point out this, that my staff, past and present, are efficient enough that we turned in 8 digests, 6 of which were in Tyler, and the same Department of Revenue that wrote the performance review is the same Department of Revenue that accepted, approved, and issued a collection order for Baldwin County. So we have worked efficiently, but as has been stated already, more training is necessary to reach a higher level of efficiency.
Has the county at any time paid for training and offered that to the office? And was it seen through, if so?
My opinion only, sir.
Not looking for opinion, I'm just looking for a fact. Has the county paid for training?
Has county paid for training? I don't know to what extent. I have not seen the invoices, sir.
Sammy? Have we,
Did we
Yes.
provide training?
There-
Whether we pay for it?
maybe paid was the wrong word.
Come
Okay.
And do training?
The only way I can answer is this. I was in the process of conversion. Tyler was here to train us initially. We ran into multiple problems on multiple levels. Tyler did come back. They sat with us, but never in a hands-on training process. It was either watching videos or it would be me training you and just giving you a PowerPoint and then saying, go back to your computer and do it. So to the extent of what you're asking, yes, there was training. There was more. I don't know if it was paid for. I did not see an invoice, and that was out of my hands.
Well, I think paid was, did we provide? Paid, maybe paid was the wrong word, I
There was
apologize.
training provided to a certain point, in my opinion, not to the point efficiently to operate in the system with the investment that the county made in it. Again, pointing out the Department of Revenue, their words, it's a very sophisticated system. That's all I can say.
You strike me as a sophisticated guy. You wouldn't be intimidated by something sophisticated, would you?
Commissioner Little, there's my wife of 30 years. I'm afraid of her, sir.
Fair enough. I have one at home too. But I mean, no, I don't think, I mean, for me, in 8 years, I would, I mean, you're a sharp guy, Mr. Williams. I would think in accepting a job here and knowing that that conversion was in real time when you came on board, I would think that in the first couple of years, you would see where, if it's sophisticated, express those needs and get those taken care of to be able to do the job at the level that you feel like you need to be able to do it.
Yes, sir, I agree. I did so to this level and was then shut down to the level of this. I asked for so much training, and I did complain about the problems that the CEO of Tyler, the upper director of Tyler, the manager over all training of Tyler, the two of the board commissioners, two of my board members, the tax commissioner, the county manager, the county financial manager at the time, and myself all got into a group session and went through multiple levels, and their final determination to us was, you need a DBA, which is a more than likely six-figure job to be the go-between between Tyler and your county CAMA system. Understand the CAMA system has multiple levels that is different from any other Tyler system in the building. So I appreciate your compliments, but you know what? I'm not that sharp sometimes. And even in my interview, which I have been misquoted as saying that I could handle it, in my interview, the two gentlemen sit right here that interviewed me. Mr. Harry Kimes wanted a yes or no answer, just like you're looking for, and I appreciate that. But in my interview, I told Mr. Kimes I was self-taught on WinGap, which 149 counties in the state of Georgia are on. Never been to a class. Been a chief appraiser for 10 years now in 2 different counties and never had a digest turned down. And so I answered his question with, I was self-taught in WinGap. I feel like I can be self-taught in this CAMA system because I too, Commissioner Little, thank you, sometimes think I am pretty sharp. But evidently, this system was more sophisticated than I was. And the answer I gave Mr. Kime and Mr. Ronald Stevenson that day was, I will do it to the best of my ability. Self-taught in the previous system, hopefully I can be self-taught in this one. Were there more problems? Yes, sir, there was. But I still will state that my staff, myself, and under the direction of the Board of Assessors, have successfully submitted and been approved by the same Department of Revenue that wrote this performance review for every digest under Tyler, and the county is still functioning.
All right, in sort of the growth chart, I believe that was, it was presented, can't remember who presented it, it had the chart with might have been Mr. Torrance,
Page 9,
it was,
10 of the PowerPoint, sir.
yes. So while those numbers are impressive on the surface, what do those numbers look like juxtaposed against, well, residential responsibility juxtaposed against commercial responsibility? And I'll tell you the reason I ask is I understand there's a a $9 million apartment complex in this county that's valued at 4.5. And so there's a certain amount of money on the table there. There's public utility money that has a revenue shift to the residential taxpayer. And so that's the reason for my questions. Those impressive numbers, but when you start wondering who's responsible for those numbers, Joe Citizen versus commercial. And
Yes, sir.
that.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to approach without permission. May I approach Commissioner Little? Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the breakdown from the Department of Revenue. Again, the same creditable department of the performance review and our digest. This is the breakdown of value of real property, and you can see the numbers somewhat that you were asking for. This is the breakdown of residential, commercial, agricultural, industrial, public utilities, and qualifying timber. Residential is 64% of Baldwin County's digest. And that's what we are responsible for evaluating and setting the value. Question I would ask, sir, your reference to the apartment complex, where did you get the $9 million value from?
I believe Commissioner Strickland had a conversation that generated that.
It was a scenario that I was informed of. I think it was 8.5. Apartment complex was in override for 4.5, and I believe it was under appeal or something of this nature, or was in override, and maybe has been settled at this point. I don't know.
So okay. It was a scenario where you were exactly right, sir. Okay, so the reference in value and then the override was a settlement in the value of the property. The way it came about, it was up for sale. And we had not settled the appeal. It was one of those that were still out, Commissioner Hall, and valid. And so with the consultant that was handling the appeal, he let me know, hey, I don't know anything about it being up for sale. I said, well, I'm getting a rumor. Well, the gentleman that was trying to buy it for $6.2 million was above what we had it in override, sir, at 4 point something. I can't tell the exact numbers here. So the consultant and I told him, well, if it's up for sale, then that is a benchmark sale of worth. And so we settled to close it on 6.2. So under the appeal, we recaptured 2 point something million because it did start off at 8. The previous year was settled at 4 point something. So we put 2 point something million back on the digest for collection during that process. To further answer your question about overrides and values, in this system, the commercial part of the system is different than the residential. We run everything through the residential for billing purposes. But some of the problems we have run into is everybody in here, or hopefully you may be, familiar with Arcadia, the apartment complex on the south side down by the river, on the other side of GMC. My son lived there while he went to Georgia College. When we took the overrides out in 2021 after the full year of conversion, that apartment complex was valued by the CAMA system at $125 million. The previous year, $24 million. So now we didn't lose $100 million. We just could not defend what the CAMA system did out of our control. So that is another reason that we do utilize the override to fairly address and evaluate properties that are not so inflated that we cannot defend them.
I think that's it for me.
Well, we've all seen the report, gone through the report. The Board of Assessors say they have a plan to address some of the things that needs to be fixed. I feel like, just like with any other company or business or whatever, we need to give them an opportunity in a length of time to fix what needs to be fixed and then move on from there.
Okay. I also agree with Commissioner David, but, my goal is to make sure next year we're not having these conversations and to try to assist y'all and make sure that we meet our ratio, we meet our medium ratio, that y'all understand the Tyler system, that we receive the tax digest by July the 15th. So I think what I heard today from you all, that we're gonna work hard to make those things happen. If we don't have this happening next year, my conversation will be different than what it is now, but I got confidence in you all that y'all gonna be able to make that happen. But one of the things I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, about the pilot, that the Fouts brother pay. I think it's a concern with that. Can you explain that and let us know about that?
Yes,
And how
sir,
many, and excuse me, I mean, cut you all the way, but how many pilots do we have in Baldwin County right now?
To my knowledge, right now, one, sir, and
And
that's
that's with the
it.
Fouts.
Fouts Brothers, yes, sir.
Okay.
To the best of my ability, and I will apologize because I am not fully prepared on that, but my understanding is to identify first the pilot program, that is a payment in lieu of taxes. That means that Miss Shirley Johnson owns the property and I run my business in her property, okay? Shirley Johnson is an exempt entity and pays no taxes. Example, Baldwin County Development Authority, city, schools, churches, but I run my business in there, so therefore she does not get taxed because she's exempt. My agreement to put my business in her building, which usually is with the governing authority, the city, or the Board of Education, is you pay no taxes, but I'm gonna pay a payment to the entity that is receiving it in lieu of taxes. Now, in the agreement that I read, sir, and forgive me again by not being totally educated on it, but I've dealt with them in the past and I'm limited to the understanding of the present. Fouts Brothers has been paying taxes on their personal property.
Yes.
Deputy Chief Appraiser Ball is also the personal property manager, and we did print out information showing that Fouts Brothers was and is and are and will pay their taxes on the personal property, which is what is running the business. On the real property, it says in the agreement that Fouts Brothers will file a return with the tax assessor's office to prompt the graduated pilot in lieu of taxes that starts off at 0 on the first year, 10%, and works up to 100% over the next 10 to 11 years. I have not seen one return from Fouts on the real property side of that equation. They have returned personal property and have been paying, I don't even know if it's at the graduated, because they've been paying, I think, at the full amount, which they have not said anything about. That is much as I know at this time on that matter, sir.
Okay, and this will be my last question. And,
To let you know, as my personal property manager, Ball Sherman, and Deputy Chief Appraiser, we have an outside source that is helping us audit personal properties, and they are in the audit on their personal property at this time.
okay, thank you. My last question would be, with all the things that I listed, and with the correction y'all say y'all have, can you assure the citizens in this board, in the tax assessors, can y'all assure us that these things will be done with the 0.4 medium income, with the tax digest being delivered on the 15th, and with everybody will be understanding the Tyler system by next year?
That's a tall order, sir, and I don't mean to be evasive, but I will say this. With the direction of this board, with the commitment of my employees and also my commitment to Baldwin County, we will do our best to hit every recommendation within a timely manner. And as my board has already pointed out, we have already been proactive before this report even came out.
Okay,
Again, I cannot foresee the future, but to the best of our ability, yes, sir, we will try with every effort that we can.
Okay, and I recommend that you give the board a quarterly report, every quarterly stating have y'all accomplished or where you at on the list that y'all gave us and where we at, so we can feel confidence that, we're gonna meet these deadlines and we're gonna meet these things, so that's not too much, and I'll begin with the rest of the board, that we can get something quarterly to us, letting us know where we at and meet the requirements that y'all gave us that you want to try to accomplish. And allow us and let us know anything we can do to help y'all. If you get off a little bit and can't meet some of those things, we gotta keep the communication going between us. I think, for my 6 years on the board, I think that's where the biggest problem we got here with the communication. And some other things, man, you have discussed privately that I don't want to discuss here today, with some reason that you have not been able to accomplish the things you want to out of that office. And while I'm in this chair, I will make sure that those things go away and that you allow the tools and the opportunity to do the things that you need to do. Because it's hurt all of Baldwin County when we don't allow you to, and give you the tools to do those things. But I'm gonna be held accountable. I'm gonna hold the board and you accountable the best I can. And when I say accountable, I mean that I'm gonna work with you side by side to try to make those things happen. Thank y'all for what y'all came. If anyone else don't have any questions around this board,
Mr. Chairman, I kind of interjected a couple of times, but I
Okay.
didn't get a chance to.
okay, go ahead, take your time.
I just want to thank you for what you do, because I know that it's difficult. Like Colonel Torrance, you cited in the beginning that you're largely, you're volunteer. I mean, the compensation is ridiculously low. And I want to take accountability for the portion of this that sits on the commissioner's shoulders. So in terms of the tools that you've been given, I don't necessarily think that you were put in the best position to be successful, and we need to correct those things on our side. I think it's important. So with that, I do have a couple of things that I think are necessary for you all. And one of them is, I don't think that you have county email addresses. Do you? Do you have? So
If we do, we don't use it.
okay, so one of the things that I think would be a good measure in transparency for the public and for your own sake is to have a county email address so that the public can reach you. Not to mention the other implications that come with using personal email addresses. So I think that's important, and this should also be posted on the Board of Assessors website. So hopefully we can get that resolved. If you have them, start using them. If not, we'll issue them, hopefully, if everyone's okay with that. And put them out there so that the public can contact you and they know who you are. Oftentimes commissioners get a lot of calls about issues, and of course, a lot of times I'll send them to you, Tom, or whatever. But I'd like y'all to be a little bit more forward-facing in the community, just as a measure of transparency. Also, there's been a lot of talk about a database administrator and the utilization or how that may be beneficial. And I'd just like to point out that, and I am not going to go through this thing page by page and do this to anybody in this room. But I do want to address this because I think it's one of the unaddressed issues. But on page 6 of the report, it says the administrator expressed the database let me start at the top here. The Performance Review Board discovered that Mr. Williams underutilizes additional administrative support provided by the Board of Commissioners, specifically a quality control database administrator who has extensive experience with the IAS World platform they were recently hired by the Board of Commissioners prior to the Performance Review Board. The administrator's role is to provide software support to both the tax assessor and the tax commissioner's office. It was reported to the PBR during its review that this administrator primarily receives most of his requests for assistance from the tax commissioner's office. Furthermore, the administrator expressed a willingness to aid the assessor's office on multiple occasions. However, the chief appraiser declined, claiming the office was able to manage matters without assistance. As a result, the proficiency of this individual has been particularly underutilized by Williams. An additional benefit that Williams has failed to recognize is CAMA system for training appraisal staff from the administrator. And this training would lead competent staff to utilize the appraisal system as intended. And so I would like us to hopefully utilize the tools that at least we have around the office.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Strickland. That's probably a very valid comment that's in the report. But what I think there's some mitigating circumstances there on both the county's part and our part. Okay, the first being that person showed up to work, I believe, May 5th, as when he started working here. This review took place roughly 5 to 6 weeks later. There were very clearly some startup issues there. Mm-hmm. There was poor communication about here's who he is, here's what he's supposed to do. And I think there are issues there with both sides, maybe some little initial turf fighting there. Someone from outside the tax assessor's office that's showing up, I'm here to help, to a board that operates independently, you know, from the Board of Commissioners. Mm-hmm. And I think once we kind of got sorted through that and smoothed that out, I would submit that that's gone significantly better, and there have been significant improvements there. But at the time this report is written, it was very clearly an issue. But I think that's behind us, and that's certainly the expectation of this board going forward. And so, without comment, I just think that it needs a little bit of context on what and when that was happening.
Sure. Well, that's good news. Thank you. There's one other issue in particular I wanted to address because it's just the people that I represent, which is on page 39. This has to do with the homes in what they call the East Lake Drive subdivision. In particular, those that line the runway. And if you look at the bottom paragraph there, the properties referenced above are located within the East Lakeview Drive subdivision outlined in red, green, and white. All parcels are immediately adjacent to the Baldwin County Regional Airport. Of these, only the properties outlined in red, parcel blah, 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 has received a 10% economic obsolescence depreciation adjustment to account for the airport's influence on its fair market value. And the spirit, what the report's talking about here is a lack of uniformity. And so, in particular, for these residents here, is there a way that we can remedy this so that if we're going to recognize the airport as, you know, if you're going to do for one, I feel like we should do for, you know, a lot of those folks who live right there. Is there a way that this can be addressed?
Yes, sir. First is, if I may approach.
Sure, come on.
Is that the Department of Revenue, again, who regulates us, this is our last report card. Those houses and residents in that subdivision are residential properties. The overall uniformity is measured by, and I don't want to get too deep in the water because I'm still 23 years later feeling like I don't understand sometimes and have to dig in deep. But the uniformity is graded by what is called a coefficient of dispersion. And for residential properties, we have an allowance of wherever our median is, which is the exact middle portion of where houses sell. Colonel Torrance has already pointed out, our target is 40%, and some of our medians have been lower in the last years, which show that their values are low. But we have a tolerance of uniformity measured by the Department of Revenue that says, for residential properties, you have a 15% window from your very median value. That means we are supposed to predict or have all residential sales within 7.5% too high and 7.5% too low of exact median sale. Again, residential properties have a tolerance of 15% or 15.0. If Commissioner Strickland would read on the COD column under residential, will you tell everybody what the COD is, please?
The paper says 10.63.
10.63 is within that 15 margin of uniformity, and the state says we're good. So in the general sense of our report card, uniformity is kept. In the sense of dedicated to the actual residential properties at the airport, we rely on the individual owner, just like you when you get your notice of assessment. If you feel like there is something that we need to look at, you will appeal. The two people that got a 10% discount, they appealed. We acknowledge that it wasn't just the airport. One of them had a ditch running through their property where the drainage was. So we lowered that value. The other properties on the airport road and in the subdivision, if you don't come talk to us about we don't like the airport or it makes too much noise, we're not changing your value. But in the consideration of if you come appeal, then we will look at it and change it accordingly. But again, in the overall grading from the Department of Revenue, our uniformity is intact.
And this is kind of what, so what I'm hearing is you take issue with the Department of Revenue's assessment of this.
No, sir. Let me clarify. I just said the same reputable Department of Revenue that did the report.
And you're saying that sarcastically,
No,
reputable?
sir, I'm not. I'm taking it very serious, the same way that you did, sir, in your film to the public. You said they were reputable. They are. We accept and have said many times, the findings in this report are serious. And you've heard my board say what we are going to do to rectify those serious recommendations. I'm just saying my last report card says we are in uniform compliance. That's all, sir.
Okay, so under the recommendations section, and I could actually finish the paragraph. In reference to this section of houses we're talking about, if the market reflects values are influenced by the airport, the adjustment should be applied uniformly to all properties bordering the airport to maintain equity and consistency. As a result, this property is valued approximately 10% lower than comparable properties in the same area are subject to the same external influence. And records indicate that this has been applied for some time. And then it goes on in the recommendations section that the Baldwin County Board of Tax Assessors should consistently and regularly analyze market data to assess the impact of external influences on property value and apply economic obsolescence adjustments uniformly when warranted per Rule 560-11-10-.025F2, period. So I guess, again, what I'm hearing is that there's no way to fix this problem, although it seems clear here that the Department of Revenue thinks that this is not right, that in this particular instance, taxes are not levied fairly and uniformly, and that we're not interested in doing anything about it.
No, sir, that's not what anybody said. Would you read the section that talks about the marketability again, please, sir?
What section are you referring to?
What you just read, it said reference to marketability, sir.
Do you have a copy of this report?
If you would just read exactly what you just read again.
As a result, this property is valued approximately 10% lower than the comparable properties in the same area that are subject to the same external influence. Records indicate that this has been applied for some time. The Baldwin County Board of Tax Assessors should consistently and regularly analyze market data to assess the impact of external influences.
That's it, sir. That's it. Market data. The market data shows that the sales in the subdivision have not been influenced by the airport one bit. That the sales in that subdivision, the majority of sales, not all, the majority of sales have sold higher than what we have on the digest. Again, pointing to what my board has already pointed out, that our values are still low in comparison to the market in Baldwin County. So it has been looked at from a marketable standpoint according to what the OCG said. And we do recognize the Department of Revenue on both stances, and we have gone back and looked at the neighborhood.
Okay. I just fundamentally disagree with that, but that's okay. I guess if you live in that area, you're aware of it, and like the chief appraiser suggests, I guess you can appeal it, and it will become uniform over some period of time. We're not going to go out of our way to make sure that we do our part in creating uniformity. With that, I will, that concludes my remarks, sir.
Any other committee have any closing remarks before I go to the
We just need to make sure that training is in place for staff and board members whenever they need it. And I don't think they offered it, but maybe a couple of times a year. Is that correct?
For the Department of Revenue, yes, ma'am, that is correct. The schedule comes out twice a year.
And and they're willing to go wherever they need to go for their training.
Well, if there's no more questions, I will go on to the next section of this meeting, the sign-in sheet. Mr. Henry Cleary, if you may. I think you know the routine, so.
Good to see you, Commissioner.
Henry Craig, former county commissioner,
Good to see you.
12 years of experience. And I have so much to say in 3 minutes. So don't start the clock until you have to.
And I think we could give y'all, if that's okay with the board, because this is an open meeting.
5 minutes is fine with me.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else.
Well, I feel like I need to be talking to them also, so I may turn around occasionally. I feel your pain. I understand what y'all do. What y'all do is very difficult, very time-consuming. And you hear from people regularly about something that bothers everybody, and that's taxes. Everybody hates taxes. Everybody hates taxes. You all hate taxes. I hate taxes. They hate taxes. Then we've got volunteers here that are volunteers to spend their time to ensure that the taxpayers are being treated fairly. And I spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks looking at the history of tax assessment in Georgia. Found documents in 1853 about how they wanted to do it then. Found documents in 1913 where they changed things extensively. Then in 1960, 1970, there were lots of new rules. And every year, the state legislature creates more rules about the process. But one thing is uniform in that process. This board, by legislation, is independent of the influence of county commissioners very specifically on purpose. And it's difficult what they do. I wanted to bring in all the legislation, all the rules from Department of Revenue. And it would be books and books and books of all the rules they have to follow. And all the rules they have to follow for 26,000 assessments or so. And they're never going to get it all right. But the point is, no county gets it all right. Now, one of the things I did while I was a commissioner, and I recommended to y'all, several of y'all have already taken advantage of it, is go to the training so that you understand the process as good as you can. So that you can treat the tax assessor board fairly in what they are required to do. Their job is awful too. They don't want to pay taxes either, but they want to make sure they're representing the citizens to ensure that they're taxed fairly within the county state's rules. They didn't share with you that the state lets them know about their tax assessor information that created the response for whether they're within variation or not. They don't tell them that information until the year after they actually give the rule to the tax assessors. They're always operating without the information they need to be perfect all the time. And I couldn't help but notice but two things on some of the slides. One, July the 15th. No county that touches Baldwin County met that date last year. And if you look across the state, it's the same way. It's difficult to accomplish. And as we interfere with the process, then there's going to be no more appeals than ever, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. So that is going to complicate the process again. So I urge you to give them the time, the resources, the respect that they need to accomplish those things. And many of the things that I heard y'all question about, for instance, Tyler. They questioned Tyler the whole time they've had it. I was aware of it because I listened. I was aware that the screens they look at is not the screens they get in training because they said so years ago. It's not new information. But we need to listen to them so that they get the resources and time they need to ensure the taxes are right. And they'll never be right because the state does not provide them the information until the year after as to how they concluded what their situation was. Further, I want you to notice and try to remember the slide that said that Baldwin County always has a lower tax rate than from the 4%. You all bragged in the past that Baldwin County has tax rate for the county that's below 80% of the state. That's something to be proud of. And they're helping you accomplish that. 80% of the state has higher taxes, property taxes, than Baldwin County. That's a good thing. So as you encourage them to help you pay for the things that you want to do, you're actually working opposite from the citizens. The citizens want low tax rates. We all do. And you want more resources. So you're working from opposite positions. Please try to give them the resources, the time, and the influence and understanding for them to do their job, and realize that if any county in the state of Georgia, in my opinion, and I've done some checking on this, no county in the state of Georgia would get a clean slate from the Department of Revenue evaluation. But you've given them the right thing. You gave them a thorough investigation to ensure that they have the resources to do their job better. Thank you for giving me an extra 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I'm still on a learning curve. Tax Assessors is a government agency, right? It's taking my time off. Deborah Bush, 109 Misty Lane, Northwest, Suite 411.
If you don't mind, you start our time back up. When you
Thank you, sir.
come up to the podium, will you state your name with everyone else? On
This is new.
State your name and address.
Okay. Was that good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
The tax assessors is a government entity, correct? Well, they looked at me blank, so I didn't know. Are you a government? Okay. If the President of the United States had gotten up and said, in a perfect world, we would have no war, or the governor had gotten in and said, in a perfect world, but this is not a perfect world. Well, this is supposed to be a perfect world when I am paying you tax money. Get your act together. I mean, educate your people. Are all the sitting boards educated? Are they up to date? Okay. You want to do a contract for homestead exemption. Who's going to handle that? Y'all don't need any more work. You can't do what you got to do now. What percentage of appeals have been approved?
From last year, we're down to about 10 or so appeals that are still open, that are pending closing. You know, a new process will open the appeal period after the notice of assessments go out in May.
So last year, 10% of the appeals were approved.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. I thought it was.
I wondered,
appeals
okay.
open.
Ma'am, there's
Oh,
only
Lord.
10. I'm sorry, I have to answer for it.
Okay.
There's only 10 out at this time. The gentleman back there in the corner has 2 that we will resolve, and then the consultant has already closed 7 out of the 9. So there's only.
So out of Baldwin County, we've only got 10 individual appeals?
No, ma'am. We had 300 and something last year. We only have 10 that need approval for closing right now. Everything has been closed out but those 10.
And what percentage of those were approved?
I'm not understanding.
The appeals, if I appealed my taxes
Yes, ma'am.
and you said yes, or you said no, what percentage did you say yes to?
That I do not know. The majority of these went to
Okay.
the VOE.
You're using my time.
Sorry.
Okay. The Supreme Court. Is it true that they have to go to the Supreme Court to do away with their positions?
Superior Court.
Superior Court. And that is true? No wonder you're taking your time. I think y'all were blasted unnecessarily. You have asked them, from what I've read in the paper, you've asked them repeatedly for things and have given them plenty of time to meet the deadline. And now you're giving them how many more months? 12 more months to get it done. Okay. All right. And then the Faust deal. I was at the Board of Assessors the 1st of March. The Faust came up, you remember, sir, about the tax exemption. And you couldn't say whether or not they had been granted tax exemption or whether they had paid. And somebody said, can you call Kathy Freeman, contact Kathy Freeman, get an answer? And you said, I will do that today. But yet you just stood up and said, I don't know the answer to that.
The answer is that Fouch Brothers has tax abatement, which
You can
frees
answer.
them
Mhm.
payment in lieu of taxes. And I forwarded a document to Commissioner Hall a couple of days ago. They have paid their taxes every year since this started in 2020 through 2025.
So they have not applied for tax exemption?
They have been paying on their
I heard that
personal
part of it.
taxes in accordance with an abatement document that was signed by this board under my chairmanship back in 2020 or 21, and by Ms. Dawn Hudson as the financial director of the county.
Did she ever comment on that? Because they're still under tax exemption status?
They are still under an abatement, yes, ma'am. I think it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, I think it's for 10 years. I think that takes them to 2030 or 2031. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, so,
But that's not exactly correct, because didn't you say that they had not filed?
thank you.
Appeal on their other property?
Yes, sir. Ma'am, they're not exempt, they're under a pilot program. So Files Brothers is not exempt.
I haven't had training, so I don't know what to talk.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank y'all. And I didn't mean to be aggressive, but sitting here just,
Next on the list is Desiree Liggins.
Desiree Liggins, Baldwin County. I was correct, there is a witch hunt. Perception is reality. And I wish you would have worked that hard on Sydney Butts Road. That's all I need to say about that. Only thing, there's a lot. I got 3 pages. All right. So, what affects the property taxes of a home? Assess property values, location, local tax rate, improvements, renovations, sales or purchase, exemptions, deductions, local budget needs. Meaning, if Baldwin County needs more money, they're going to raise the taxes. How to lower your taxes? File for an exemption, appeals on your property. File appeals for your assessments. It's easy. We all have to pay taxes. I like paying my taxes because it's my stuff. Anywho, I'm gonna move on to that. Tyler. Who did it and why? It needs to be abolished. I want to know how much money I am spending every year on this software because software is renewed yearly. I want to know what is the scope of this contract and is it being met? Meaning, do they have real-time support? Is it, do we get the updated versions? Because at the meeting, the city's on version 8, somebody's on version 10. The videos that train them don't look like the videos that it's in front of them on the screen. Is there on-site training every year, or they just threw it at us and then you guys expect people to learn and know this stuff as they're updating these versions? I just think it's a waste of money. 10 counties, only 10 in the state of this Georgia uses that. Is there 149 or 159? Because y'all gave me some mixed numbers at the last meeting. I just don't understand why we need that in this small, wonderful community. We are not Cobb County. We're not Gwinnett. We're not anywhere else. We are Baldwin. And we should not be using that if the Department of Revenue doesn't even use it. Why are we using it? Who forced this on them when they have been screaming, it don't work? They don't want it. Y'all are not giving them the resources and tools they need to be successful. There's open positions that have not been filled. There's training that's backlogged. These people make $100 a month, and you want them to get a government email? Y'all don't pay them enough for that. That's his problem, not theirs. They don't need to be getting emails like that at $100 a month. I don't want to get $100 a month. Y'all don't pay me, and I do more work for the county. Y'all need to do better. I'm not done. If you guys are going to demand this software be forced on them, you need an SME. That's a subject matter expert. Y'all need to hire one, and they need to be trained, and then there needs to be a secondary, because if that guy goes down or girl, there needs to be somebody to back that up. Because obviously you guys y'all sent them out in the dark without a flashlight. Also, why is that business on a pilot program, not paying taxes? Y'all are giving away our money. Faust Brothers is a business. They are profiting on our land. They need to pay taxes and they need to be held accountable. I don't know who signed off on that program. but it needs to be abolished. Y'all need to be focusing on those things instead of on a witch hunt over here. I used to tell my soldiers, you don't have to like me, but you got to respect me. And some people on this board do not respect that man. And that's sad. I told Commissioner Hall or Little, y'all need to win hearts and minds. Your community does not trust you. And y'all need to win hearts and minds instead of coming after these people like that. We have spent all this time beating these people up instead of thanking them for what they're doing. We're doing just what everybody else around us is doing. What are they doing wrong? If these people want a tax break, he shouldn't have to walk them into his office and make them sign paperwork. Go get your tax break if you're eligible. And bottom line, that airport's been there a long time. I don't know why anybody's asking for a tax exemption. If you built a house by that airport, you deserve to hear every dang flight that comes in and out of there. Thank you and have a great evening.
Next person on the list would be Mr. Ed Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Ed Walker, 310 Old Monticello Road, Millersville. First, thank you. Thank you for the review of this report and the opportunity for the Board of Assessors to get a response. I think that's important. But the other thing that I'm concerned about is, you know, I'm not a big social media person, but I'm troubled with the direction this has taken, you know, and it's allowed, and I'll even call it some people with a lack of courage to throw stones on social media when it's a community challenge that we as a community have to hold hands and try to resolve. I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for what they do, the Board of Assessors, because it's a thankless job and they're volunteers. And as I sat here and I listened tonight, one of the things that concerned me is you guys hadn't been communicating a whole lot. It's pretty evident that there's not been a lot of back and forth in terms of what was needed and what could be fulfilled and so forth and so on. And I heard the request about quarterly updates. But what I think is missing, and I urge you to deal with in a separate session, is what are the milestones? What is it that the commissioners need to see from the Board of Assessors? And then what kinds of milestones are we going to set such that those things can be addressed? And because this didn't happen overnight, okay? It took years to get here. And it's not going to take a couple of months or two to fix it. It's going to take some time. But we control that. And I'm going to apologize for something. I'm going to apologize that as a citizen of this county, I have not been present at the majority of the commission meetings to be present to ask difficult questions. You know, if you go back and you look at commission meetings online and you see an empty room, you have those faithful few that attend every time and they make comments every time. But as citizens, we got to be more engaged, and we need to be in a position to ask the tough questions so that our elected officials know, number one, that we support them, and two, that we're going to hold them accountable for the positions that we elected them for. So along that line, I also urge us to come up, you know, the two groups to come up with some sort of dashboard, something that citizens can take a look at and see where we stand. You know, how do we stand on tax collections, revenue? What does that look like? And then on the county side, what do those expenditures look like? You know, versus budget and so forth. I think that might help a lot of folks get where we need to get to. Thank you for your time.
Next person on the list will be, I think it's Laureen Haley. Miss Haley. That is, I'm saying it right, ain't it? Laureen Haley?
Haley.
It's Miss,
Lauren.
it's Miss Lauren Haley here.
Oh, she had to leave.
Okay. All right, the next person on the list will be Miss Shirley Johnson. You decline. The next one to be on the list is Mr. Maurice Ligon.
Good evening, everybody. Maurice Liggins, 127 Sydney Bus Road. That's gonna be a hard act to follow, but I just want everybody to know. There was one issue that the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Tax Assessors kept talking about, which is the Tyler contract, right? And this goes into everything that I keep saying at all the meetings, which is contract management. Now, this is my field right here because I dealt with this in the Army. Anytime you have a software contract or anything dealing with information system, that contract has to have a manager. Now, if that certain entity or whoever's providing that service is not managing or meeting the expectation of the people that's paying for it, then whoever's managing that contract should be able to intervene and get the team what they need to be successful. Now, I'm going to pose a question. Who was the official contract manager for the Tyler software? I don't need no answer right now, but y'all just think about it because I already know the answer. Now, moving on to what my man just said, who was just up there, communication. I've been telling y'all, there's a single point of failure in this organization. And the single point of failure is the communication. And I'll say that, right? Because we now tasked the Board of Assessors to give us a report, a quarterly report. But I got to ding the board too, because there ain't no follow-up. We give them something without a suspense date, and then when they're going to get it, we say, oh, they didn't give it to us. That's not how leadership truly works. I've led soldiers. I had hundreds of soldiers throughout my career. I get them a task. Hey, this need to be done by 4:30. At 12, I'm calling. Hey, where y'all at? How much of this y'all done got done? And then I'm going to call you again at 3:30. That's called simple follow-up. That eased the machine along. So also, the blame can't just be put on the board. The blame got to be held all the way around. Because if you do expect something, you got to inspect what, Mr. Hall, what you expect, right? So, I hope they do keep y'all. But if they find some kind of way to do what they was intended on doing, which is blowing it up to get to Wade Williams, what's the backup plan? Do we got people already identified? If we don't, then we're going to be in worse trouble than what we're already in. So there's just something to think about. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just looking at the second and third order effect as a taxpaying citizen. And I know how the process works. And while I'm on this thing, right, I would hope that the communication improves because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 districts have a county commissioner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 of them. So if I was District 4 commissioner, I'll take you out to lunch, man. Hey, let's see what you got going on. Hey, are we meeting this? Are we doing that? Let me doing this. Where we at? But I'm just saying, across the board, right? That's how that communication would improve. And the people, and go somewhere in the community so the folks know that we see y'all talking. All right? And my last thing, and I ain't gonna take the whole 5 minutes, right? That was a lot of energy about y'all. And I'm glad that energy, whatever energy it was in the cloud, in the space after y'all's audit, right? But we got another audit out there, that money audit. So I want that same energy from Baldwin County. I want the same energy, the same rah, they ain't doing their job, let's get rid of them, rah. When that money audit come out, same energy. Thank y'all for coming out. Y'all have a good evening. Be safe getting home.
Well, that concludes the meeting. If no other commissioner or board, tax assessor board member have any closing remarks, I entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Yes, sir.
I am in order, right?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Ronald L. Stevenson, 135 Shannon Drive, District 2. You were saying about the emails that all of us supposed to be getting this. I have a question on that. It's to the county's expense. You want me reading more? You want me doing all of this? Reading 20, 30, 100 emails?
I didn't ask the question.
So, since I have all y'all here, it's a public meeting, are we gonna get a raise from this $100 getting $92 out of that being taxed? I just need to know that before I leave the building. I don't think that's a hard question, Commissioner Strickland, Hall, Davis, Little. Mr. Chairman.
It wasn't my idea. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Wow.
what it is.
So, I supposed to be getting these emails. How you gonna hook it up to my pad, my desktop, my phone? Who gonna do all this IT work? Tell me something before I leave. Wow.
I don't mind
So-
responding if you want me to, Mr.
You
Chairman.
made a suggestion with no solution? What?
No, I have a perfect solution to it. We have county email addresses, and all you have to do is download an app like you would get email to your device as normal, and you can use it.
Okay. Answer the other question. Am I gonna get a raise for reading?
Do you want a raise for
Yes.
using
yes.
a county
Do
email?
you want a raise?
No, I haven't advocated for
Well,
that.
now that's your opinion. This is mine.
Yeah.
Tell me something else. Go ahead.
Now, a raise for where
I
you
mean,
go
are
to
you
read
not-
the same email?
Yeah, are you not currently, you don't have currently used email?
You said counter email. You want me to be getting the email that's coming to Commissioner Butts to be
No.
coming to me?
No.
Well, explain what you're saying.
Okay.
You left it open.
I thought I explained it pretty well, but.
No, you did not.
What I'm suggesting is issuing county emails to you all so that these emails can be posted on the website so that people can contact you if they have questions, concerns, or whatever. It may be about an appeal, some issue that has nothing to do with this board. We've talked about a degree of separation here quite a bit. So what we're talking about is just a way for the public to contact you. How would the public contact you if they needed to get you? Like you represent, you're on the board,
District two.
you represent Chairman Butts' district. So if they needed to contact you, where would they go to find your contact information?
They have my contact information. I
Where?
have
How would they get
home, email.
Where is that?
Business number, everything.
Where is
Now,
that available?
Where is it available?
Right, where is it available to the public?
In the regular book, in the yellow pages.
That's,
Uh,
but they,
everywhere. Everybody know in
okay,
District 2, Mr. Strickland, where I am. Now, I'm asking you, what's the cost of this? How you going to make it happen?
well, I don't know the cost. I can't imagine that it would be expensive at all to issue an email address, but there may be some expense associated with it.
Well, I just want to know how it's going to be done. You made that suggestion like it was just like a snap of the finger. I didn't want to get
When
out
I
of
got
here
an
with-
email, that's exactly what happened. I was issued one. It was no big deal. Took 2 seconds. So I would assume that the same process would be for everyone else. And if y'all are amicable to it, if you don't think it's a good idea or whatever, that's fine too. If you don't think that the public should.
I didn't say
you know.
it wasn't a good idea. I wanted you to explain it because you hadn't. That's all. Not a problem.
You would use that email like you would use any other email. It would just be specific to county business.
But you didn't say anything about the raise since we work for $92 a month.
Well, I mean, put in for one.
Oh, we've been putting in for it.
So,
Wow.
Can we bring it back in?
absolutely,
and,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Finish up your closing statement.
Okay, all right, so
Say no to a raise.
we putting in a request now. Do we need to put it in writing or is this good?
I think a good place to start is fix this.
Well, You need to help fix it too now.
I'm committed to doing that.
You in that performance report too now, right?
Can we,
Are you a commissioner? Well, you in that performance report too because you don't communicate.
yeah, Miss, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting if, I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Well, somebody got, you ever say somebody got
Oh,
to make the motion?
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
You say you entertain.
No, I said I entertain a motion, entertain a motion. So you second it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.